The following podcast may contain discussions supported by science that may be considered dangerous to some listeners and conspiracy theorists. Discretion is advised.
The 3 Down Greencast is brought to you by the Pile of Bones Brewing Company. Home delivery available in Regina at sassbeerdelivery.ca. Welcome to the 3 Down Greencast. You are listening to the internet's only Tim Tebow related podcast. I am Joel Gasson with John Fraser, and yes, we are asking the question this week. As the Jacksonville Jaguars have released quarterback/tight end/minor league baseball player/should-be future handball player Tim Tebow, we're asking, should the Riders sign him? No. No, they shouldn't.
No, not a chance in hell. Unless the Riders start a handball team, because that man is perfect for handball.
Yes. It's a discussion me and a friend have had for a while, that he should get into handball and make it a very popular sport in North America, and we would definitely all be in favor of that.
Yes, but should he sign with the Riders? No.
No, we shouldn't. So if you're noticing, we're recording this episode on a different night. It's landed in your podcast app on a different day.
As long as you've hit the button correctly.
Yes, as long as I actually upload this thing correctly. And that's because John, for some reason, has these weird priorities. We were discussing when we were going to produce this episode this week.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly in the middle of the conversation, John remembered that apparently tomorrow is his anniversary.
Yes.
And for some reason that takes precedent over this very important podcast. So,
You know, it's funny, Joel, with the way my life is with now having 3 children, we probably still could have recorded at this time at night, as we are a little bit later, as I was also parenting, getting 2 of the children to bed. So, you know, in my current situation, we still could have. I didn't want to run that risk. And it's funny because this is not the first time that I've almost podcasted on my wedding anniversary. The last time when I was on the prior podcast of this one, the one that Tino Sinceri's favorite podcast, back in that day, I remember I was covering a practice for the Huskies, and I got a text from my wife, that she was asking, okay, so where are we going for dinner tonight? And I had been slated to record at like 7:00 that night, and I went, oh crap. So I had to phone up Travis Curra, my old co-host at the time, and basically say, hey, so you're on your own. And the recording schedule was a little bit more rigid than what you and I have, so he managed to find a co-host within 20 minutes, so that was good for him. So this time I did not make that same mistake, and actually, it's funny. When I brought it up to Lacey, because I worked with her dad at Enns Toyota. There we go. There's the drop.
Always.
I said to her dad, I said, hey, Don, do you mind taking the boys for a couple hours tomorrow night? I want to go out for supper for Lacey's anniversary, for mine and Lacey's anniversary. Not just Lacey's.
Not just Lacey's anniversary, no.
That's right, you know. There's a boyfriend joke in there somewhere. So I said, he's like, yeah, it's all good. So I text Lacey. I said, well, where do you want to go? And yeah, as she said to me, she's like, yeah, the anniversary just kind of snuck up on me. So I probably could have gotten away with it, but yeah, it's a good thing I didn't, because I feel like outside of the time I had a 3-hour recording session, that would have been the second angriest my wife would have been at my podcasting career.
So that's, I guess that's fair. I mean, if that's how you feel. I don't know.
I guess so. Like, I love you like a brother, but Lacey can do things that, I mean, you physically could do. I don't want you to. Although, you know, we could both do much worse, I imagine, if we had to, but that's neither here nor there. All I'm saying.
Obviously, I'm kidding. Yes, of course, you should spend your anniversary with your wife, and not me and our 4 listeners.
It's like 5. 2 of my buddies in my fantasy football league listen now. Shout out to Damien and Travis. And I think Jay listens as well, too. So I got like 3 guys that listen now, which is really weird for me for saying dumb. Because when I say dumb shit on here and I actually get a message in the WhatsApp group, I'm like, okay, what did I say again? So
to pull back the curtain a little bit, I don't think people realize sometimes while we're doing this, we're kind of like football players after the game where you say, when they're like, oh, I don't just have to go back and watch the film. Sometimes I have to go back and re-listen to remember everything I actually said on this thing. And I'm going to imagine it's even worse for John because he's even like more out there than I am. So
it's true, and usually drunker too. Don't forget about that. But in preparation for my anniversary tomorrow, Joel, even though
Yes.
Lacey did just have a baby, and I'm not the kind of man that has expectations. But I do have my lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. So, spoiler alert here, Jacques Cartier, I'm sorry, my balls are trimmed for the occasion because nobody likes to floss, right? So, attention all of our listeners across the galaxy or world, all the way from come by chance to dildo. Do we have a pubes problem? Joel, space music?
we don't do that around here.
Okay. If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you're in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide, including me, who trust Manscaped, and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code FANSIDED20. I normally this is where I talk about the products, but I think saying that nobody likes flossing is more than enough. So get 20% off with free shipping with the code FANSIDED20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code FANSIDED20 at manscaped.com for a clean infinity and beyond. My kids aren't wearing the Toy Story jammies tonight, but your Spaceballs will thank you.
Is there like a rule now that they can't wear those pajamas on podcast night?
I think so.
No, at least until the notes change.
Yeah. When the notes change, they can wear whatever they want. I just can't think of putting my kids in their Buzz Lightyear matching Buzz Lightyear jammies and then talking about my balls in infinity and beyond. But here we are. Here we are. I am trimmed and ready to go, thanks to the people at Manscaped.
Yes. Also ready to go so far have been the Saskatchewan Roughriders, so we are, of course...
there it is! Yes!
Also going to talk about them and their win over the Hamilton Ticats, and ask the question, are the Riders good? Is Hamilton bad? Is water wet?
Should the Riders sign Tim Tebow?
No. We already answered that question. But should they maybe sign Derek Moncrief?
Ooh.
But do they need him? I don't know.
Spicy.
From that game, of course, we're going to talk about a little bit of the what seems to be reemergence a bit of the Canadian Air Force. Not the Hair Force. The Hair Force is fun, but the Air Force is interesting.
What about the Air Farce?
I think
Remember
that would probably be the Ottawa Redblacks, but yes, I remember that show.
Hey-o, or maybe the Edmonton Elks these days.
Yes, the Edmonton Elks.
Ooh.
And people thought they were going to be good.
Lots of people did.
I believe on this podcast, even with Dan Plaster, all three of us didn't have much confidence in Edmonton being good this year.
No, just because of the behind-the-scenes like shenanigans that were leaking out and the infighting with the players on Twitter and calling out their organization. So, I think we might be the only CFL-related prognosticators that weren't all up in their business.
It's possible, though. I'm sure there was a few others, but for the most part, yeah, we were definitely not on the Edmonton trade. Anyway, we got all that and more to get to in this episode, but as usual, John, for our OG sponsors, the Pile of Bones Brewing Company, what is in the glass this week?
In the glass, you're not going to believe this, Joel. Your jaw is going to hit the floor.
Or maybe am I going to believe it because you told me earlier that you still had some left?
I was trying to make it for our listeners. Like it was this big dramatic reveal, but
I know, but I wanted to ruin that for you.
Yeah, you sure did. Yeah, went there. Yeah. In fairness, we can't act either, so it's probably best that you did that. So, I've been on a bit of a rum kick lately and sleeping a lot more than I normally do. So I still have, from Lake of the Woods Brewing Company, Ontario's northernmost brewery, a Forgotten Lake Blueberry Ale. So I am committing the sin. Or did I have the peach one last week?
I don't remember which one you had.
I don't remember either. Both are great. Go buy them, especially if you're listening.
I think you mentioned both, but I don't remember which one you actually had.
Right, because I didn't think there was a chance that a week later I would go into my fridge and lo and behold, there is a Forgotten Lake Blueberry Ale sitting there, and I'm going, before...
I think you had the blueberry last week, yeah.
Yeah, right after. Right,
remember now that you say it, I think you had the blueberry last week, because then I asked you if it was actually blue in color, and you said yes. So
that's fair. Your memory is far better than mine. Oh, and the empty is still here at my recording studio, sitting on my Super Mario chessboard. Yeah, it's delightful. It is delicious. I'm shocked I still have one left.
that is shocking for you.
Yeah. I'm known for beers don't really serve, but I've been on this weird rum kick. I had a hell of a busy end of my week last week, and you have those busyness where your brain's just fried.
Yep.
You're just like, I just need something hard that I can something hard
and trimmed
that I can put in my mouth. And so I went to the Sobeys liquor store where Joel works.
Not the exact location. That would be a
No.
long drive just for rum.
Right.
As much as I would like to see you, that's a long drive just for rum.
That's fair, but it was on sale. There were some Appletons on sale, and I had one of those moments. Lacey was at her mom and dad's, as I go off on a Fraser tangent here. She was at her mom and dad's, and it was just me and the dog, and I literally drank like a glass of rum and like 2 beer before like an hour was up. It was one of those moments. I was feeling good last Saturday, so I think that's part of the reason why the Forgotten Lake Blueberry Ales have survived, but they won't survive much longer, the speed at which I drink.
Fair enough. For me, I have from the multinational brewing company, Champal Pilsner Special. I think that's what they want to. I think that's why there's an accent on the accent aigu is on there.
It's not the accent grave.
No, it's not. It's not pointed the other way.
That's fair.
Yeah, 4.5%. It says "get busy" in quotation, so I'm guessing it's also sponsored by Manscaped.
You better make sure you use your lawnmower 4.0 before you and Jenny consume them at the same time.
So it is just kind of a light, easy drinking pilsner, not quite as much bite as you get some out of other pilsners we've seen in the province recently, but still very, very smooth, easy drinking beer, well made. I believe based off the can design, it's kind of supposed to be Miller-ish, maybe. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what they're going for. I don't know exactly, but that would maybe be my guess. Like the champagne of beers, that whole thing. So.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be my guess. But regardless, it's very good. So if you don't like that sort of Pilsner bite that you get like from the Blackbridge Pilsner or, the Pile of Bones Prairie Pils, a little smoother on the back end, this would be the beer for you, available, of course, at Multinational. I don't know if it's available here at Multinational anymore. The location, the brewery itself runs out of stuff fairly quickly, but still could be found probably on store shelves wherever you find beer products everywhere.
Now, did you know in the U.S., and you can order it on Walmart.com, you can get Champagne malt liquor.
There's a lot going on in that sentence.
Well, I was trying to Google the bottle, and I can see, okay, there's multinational, and then there is Champagne. It is a brand of malt liquor brewed with yeast more commonly used in wine fermentation to produce a beer resembling sparkling wines. I
mean, I think Malty kind of released something like that this week, but like it's like a mead, but a beer. Like it's a weird combination that they've come up with, but it's probably like actually good compared to whatever that is through American Walmart.
I was just gonna say, this is now okay. Again, the distinct difference between you and I is my desire to try things that are spectacularly shitty.
Yeah,
like how I still have talked about how I want to try things from the brewery that won't be named without actually buying them somehow. Maybe we hit them up for sponsorship.
God no.
Or
if I ever miss an episode, you can do whatever you want. But as long as I'm on here, then none of their products will ever appear on this podcast.
Well, I won't name it. I'll just say, and then I'll go on about how terrible. I will take one for the team for our listeners here. I will try it to see how bad it is. Maybe I'll just be Saskatchewan's smartest radio listener and get that $50 prize from the brewery that should not be named, and get my free hot dog.
Then you'd have to be smart.
Or quick at Google.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm known for one thing. It is speed. I am deceptively fast for a fat guy. Anybody that has played athletics with me can vouch for that. I am deceptively fast for a fat kid.
Good for you. I don't know how that helps your Googling skills, but anyway.
I'm just fast in all my ways.
The Riders were fast on Saturday night, that's for sure. As they defeated the Hamilton Ticats 30-8 to move to 2-0 on the season. A game, admittedly, I thought the Ticats were going to be better in and were probably going to win. Instead, they looked like complete crap again.
Yeah.
Is what's going on there. We might talk about that in a second, but from a Rider perspective, you have to be happy with the way things are going if you're a fan of this team. Because I think there was obviously a lot of question marks heading into the season, especially around the offensive line, and I think this has sort of been the key to their success out of the gate so far this season is that, and I wrote this in the piece on 3downnation.com after the game, of course, the good, the bad, and the dumb of the Riders' 30-8 win over Hamilton, was that the offensive line's been good so far. I'm not ready, I'm not going to say that they're Winnipeg or they're, I'm not going to sit here and declare them one of the best offensive lines in the Canadian Football League at this point. However, they've been good, they've been serviceable, and of course they've received some help from Jason Maas and the play calling that's been going on there, as the ball, generally speaking, has been getting out of Cody Fajardo's hands pretty quick when it has to. They got William Powell involved a little bit here or there when they can as well. So that certainly helped, and and Cody's legs have certainly helped as well there as well. But overall, you can't sit there and say that this unit has been a detriment to the team like everyone expected to this point.
No, and especially after the injury to Brett Boyko.
I think he's sick. I don't think he's injured. It's non-football related thing is what the injury report still says. So
which is still good. But you just see him miss the game, and you're thinking, okay, they're already thin. All hell's going to break loose.
I believe I received a text from someone, and then I basically copied and pasted it to everyone else and said, "What's an Andrew Lauderdale?"
Yes, I do remember that one. But he was just fine.
Yep.
And on top of that, and this is, I believe, if we go back, run the tape, if we had like the producers like they do on the old Tim and Sid show, and you'd have the angelic harping going, where I said perhaps restrictions get loosened and maybe we see the return of Brendan Labatt, which Craig Dickinson did in fact hint at. So I think they've held up really well. I think a big part of it is what Jason Maas has done. If you watch his game plan, quick passes, he gets Cody moving around a little bit in the pocket to buy himself time, using Fajardo's legs, and not using it to the point that he's going to take some massive hit. He's just enough that, the defensive line and the linebackers, and you can't just send everybody at him because he's getting the ball out quick, he's making the right reads, and again, like, just being really good at football. I mean, again, look, a 68% completion percentage on the night, and I know a few people wanted him pulled, but I think early season reps are important.
I think in the final 5 minutes he should have been pulled, but we're splitting hairs at this point, really.
Exactly, right? So I think he looked good. The O-line has looked good, which is really, as soon as a couple guys went down, we really started to panic, but am I getting like predictions right for once in my life, saying Logan Ferland was going to be a good offensive lineman?
I mean, maybe reverse jinxing the Bombers to a Grey Cup win just forever ended the Fraser curse.
Or
at least maybe not forever, but at least temporarily, it seems.
Yeah, because this has been like bizarro. Like, I've actually been making like correct predictions and observations and things like that. It must be the new death setup, Joel. That's what it is. I'm no longer doing this sitting on my couch watching the Bombers win the Grey Cup on repeat. I'm now doing it with stats and numbers in front of me, although I drink more than I used to. Whatever I'm doing, it seems to be working. But yeah, the lines look great. Hopefully Boyko's back because he's looked serviceable. Logan Ferland's turning into the next, locally grown Canadian stud. Dan Clark, now almost 2 years removed from his car accident, looks like the Dan Clark of old, like he always
I would argue Dan Clark looks nothing like the Dan Clark of old, because I think in 2019 in this year he's been playing the best football of his career.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was good, he was serviceable, he was like okay to that up until that like 2019, but in 2019 and beyond, something's clicked and his game's gone to another level, I think.
I would agree with that. And when I meant Dan Clark of old, I meant, 2019. So no, I would absolutely agree with you. Like he's become a stud, and now there's the chance that what looked like could be weakness could be getting strength back. I mean, you presumably have Boyko coming back. You've got maybe, by God, is that Brendan Labatt's music?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of got those things working for them. And the interesting thing to me will be, will Jason Moss change things up when maybe he has a little more faith in the offensive line? Does he let Cody go deep a little bit more? Or does he just keep doing what he's been doing and doing well? Because I know.
Well, here's the thing that was interesting about that game, and Craig Dickinson admitted it to our Brendan McGuire after when he asked him the question, was because early in that football game they did go deep a few times.
Yep.
It wasn't successful, but you don't really have to be successful at the long ball for it to be effective sometimes. You just have to attempt it so it's in the back of the mind of the defense. And that's pretty much what Craig Dickinson said they did. They came out, they threw the ball deep, got Hamilton to back off a bit, and then they just beat them underneath the rest of the game. So that was pretty much the game plan. If it connected and they scored on a touchdown, that's a bonus. But really all they had to do was huck it, and they did. And luckily there was no interceptions, and they still got the desired effect they wanted out of it.
And I feel like this is A, when you have Cody Fajardo who makes good decisions, but B, this comes down to Jason Moss. Like the past Rider offensive coordinators, this is like something basic that you do when you play your buddies in Madden.
Yeah.
You throw a few deep ones to keep them on their toes. This is something that every football team at every level of football does. And the Riders' last two offensive coordinators couldn't seem to figure it out. That's what you do for football. So I love what Jason Moss is doing. You and I are openly, although neither of us admitted fans of the Riders.
Yeah.
Both of us are cheering for Cody Fajardo. He just seems like a good dude. And yeah, I like seeing him play well. I like seeing the O-line play well. And I would love to see this team get Brendan Labatt back. And I think this is the perfect situation to bring him back. He has because
yes, if he does come back, in theory you believe, on paper the offensive line should get better. But here's the thing, like if the group is playing well, he comes back, there's no rush. There's no, okay, we need to get him in the lineup this week. There's time to let him get back up to speed. So if he sits on the one game or is a healthy scratch for 2 or 3 weeks once he gets here, that might be okay, depending on how things are going at that point.
Absolutely, yes, and that's a great point. You don't have to rush him back to plug him in. You don't need to make the mistake that teams seem to do with their returning CFL players and throw them in there. So I thought the line was great. I thought Cody looked solid. And you mentioned we're going to talk about the receivers. It just you said it. You said it earlier in the tease, and you said it off air that I'm starting to get vibes of the old Canadian Air Force here.
And the interesting thing to me is, while Cody Fajardo is still playing well, and there's, obviously they're doing things differently under Jason Moss compared to Stephen McAdoo, I don't think we're really seeing a huge change in Cody Fajardo's game. I think Jason Moss has adapted to him, which is good, which is a good sign of which we knew Jason Moss is a very good coach. We don't know if he's a great head coach, but we know for sure he's a very good offensive coordinator. And he's clearly adapted to what Cody Fajardo does, because it's not like they're making him do anything different. It's not like his numbers have really changed all that differently through 2 games. We're not seeing him throw for 400 yards. We're not seeing him make like 100 pass attempts. We're seeing him still, get out of the pocket a little bit, run a little bit, hand off a little bit, make some passes. But, I mean, realistically, last year, he was like a 250-yard guy, kind of guy, maybe the odd 300-yard game. But he was never going to put up numbers that lit the world on fire. And, because of some injury situations at quarterback last year, that kind of got him, I think, more into the MOP race maybe than he deserved. But those are the circumstances of the season. And it kind of feels similar so far. Like, I don't know if we're going to see a ton of 300-yard games from the guy, but that's okay. He's still very impactful with the way he's being used. And if you don't need your quarterback to throw for 500 yards, why do it?
You know what his average yards per game were last year, Joel? 240.
Yeah, I was going to guess around 220, 230.
Right. So that's exactly it. If anybody thought that Cody Fajardo was going to be Anthony Calvillo 2.0, they were mistaken. But this is also the same guy that, when we last saw him on the field, 18 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Yeah. This year it's 4-1. He's good, as you said, he's going to use his legs a lot. I mean, last time in 2019, over 600 rushing yards, and he's just about at 100 for this year, right? And just the...
Yep. I think some of us would like to see him give himself up a little bit easier sometimes, but that's hard to beat out of some certain guys, as we've seen in football history.
And it's just like, I see a smile on CFL.ca as I'm looking at his stats.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to hug the guy. I know he doesn't drink beer. I just want to like hug him and be like, Cody, let's go.
He likes cherry Coke. We found that out at the end of his scrum after the game. He like stood up, he like got up from his chair and he's like, cherry Coke time. And he like, left the room.
Well, he always tweets. He has like, it's Coke or Pepsi and rose grenadine.
Yeah.
Is that what he always puts together? And he always like he's tagging like Derek Taylor in it and.
Next week's game against the Ottawa Red Blacks is an anniversary of sorts for Cody Fajardo because the X is in town in Regina.
Right.
And remember the last time the X was in town, right? He had the corn dogs. He had the corn dogs after the win.
How on earth is New Mosaic not serving corn dogs?
I don't know.
They are an underrated football food. It's on a stick.
I mean, as long as they're like well made, not just like pogos out of a box, but like an actual like a real hot dog with a good batter. Yeah.
But I mean too, pogos in a deep fryer, or pogos in an oven.
Yeah, but a fresh batter beats anything though. Like it's
100%
hard. Nothing is better than something deep fried in a fresh batter. You can't replicate it any other way.
No, you really can't.
Imagine if they tried to make a pogo out of that, like, what's that really long hot dog they have?
Oh,
however many feet that thing is?
Yeah, the thing that's literally on a baguette.
Yeah.
I would prefer that in a pogo. It's hard.
It probably would be better,
the 2-foot hot dog. It is hard because there's so much bread. I would prefer a 2-foot pogo over a 2-foot hot dog. And I say this as a man who loves hot dogs more than a 30... How old am I again? 34-year-old man should.
I mean, it's really hard to beat a hot dog, though. Like, I know we all everyone makes jokes about it, but I mean, deep down inside, like everyone loves hot dogs, right? To some degree.
Right. And
because I mean, we're in the middle. We're kind of heading towards the end of summer here, towards fall. But there's still like very few things are better than like you throw that hot dog on a barbecue, you char the crap out of it.
Yep.
And we always used to do this about like my grandpa always did this. Like that was like the appetizer at their house for like big family gatherings. There'd be a bunch of hot dogs on the grill. They are charred like hell, and then you just pick it up with a napkin, dip it in your condiment, and eat it. There wouldn't even be any buns.
See, okay, so you need to next time you/Jenny are up in the summer, we need to do the Saskatoon hot dog tour.
Okay.
There's the little bus stop refreshments that has great hot dogs. Get it loaded, mostly mustard. I don't think there's even ketchup on there. So
that's that British one downtown, right?
Yeah, really good. So then my recent discovery is my kids love the River Landing Spray Park. Is the concession there? It's only open on weekends now. They actually like cut the hot dog and they put onions and like cheddar cheese and all this stuff on it. Holy crap, is it good? It is like fantastic.
Cutting the hot dog open and splitting it for cooking it is like that's a pro move.
So, and the nice thing is now, thanks to the layout of Saskatoon, there are bars along the way. So next year when Lacey is significantly like not 3 days away from having a child, we could start like one bar and have a hot dog and then just work our way up and have the other hot dog. It is decided.
It is definitely decided.
Okay, so where were we on this football talk? Because I'm getting excited about I could do a hot dog podcast.
We probably could, at least an episode.
If we can do 8A Nation, I think we can do like Sausage Nation.
Probably. A guy who's probably actually going to have some time to eat some hot dogs right now is receiver Shaq Evans.
I got to slow clap that one. That's great work, Gas. That's fantastic. So yes, Shaq Evans.
Hopefully not too many because he would want to stay in shape for his return to the hopeful return to the football field, as he's been put on the 6-game injured list. He got injured in that win over Hamilton, and I mean that's obviously a loss for the team. He's a very good receiver, but the receiving situation with the team right now is quite interesting. Is it safe to say that right now their most impactful and best receiver has been Canadian Brady and Linus?
Yes, I think that's totally safe to say, especially a guy that's taken the leap from the last time we saw him making 2 catches in the 2019 season to being kind of the best threat that the Riders have. Led the team in receiving yards, one ahead of Kyron Moore. Like, you know your team is deep when I saw the news come out on Twitter today, and our friend Jamie Nye tweeted that it's a big loss for the Riders, and I'm like, is it? Yes, Shaq Evans is great. Yes, he's got great chemistry with Cody Fajardo, but the things that the receiving core is doing this year, if there was one place you could lose a guy, I feel like that's it.
Yeah. And I mean, through 2 games, and obviously it's a small sample size, it's felt like they've tried to force what Cody Fajardo and Shaq Evans had in 2019. It's felt like they've tried to force a lot of plays that weren't quite there yet. So maybe in the grand scheme of things, with him taking a step back, they might be a little better off. So then when he returns, or if he returns, it'll be, okay, he just slides back into the offense now, and we just kind of go with what works, because potentially down the road there, okay, everything's, Linus is doing well. Kyron Moore's looked pretty good through a couple of games. You imagine this is going to maybe give Paul McRoberts a chance to finally get on the roster here, as everyone's been gushing about him that's been watching camp and practice for the last 2 seasons, I should say. So, it's a loss. They're going to miss him to some degree, because whenever you lose good players, that always sucks. But I think that is a spot, especially because they generally play 2 Canadian receivers on the field, the depth is there to cover a lost American receiver right now.
Yes, it certainly is. I mean, you already saw what they were doing in practice today. Jordan Williams-Lambert, who was famously one of my expansion picks, who's started off pretty okay this season. He's going to kind of step into that role. Mm-hmm. He's looked good this year. You're right, Joel. I almost feel like Braden Linnaeus or Mitch Picton would be a bigger loss for this team than Shaq Evans right now.
I think that's fair. And because I think Mitch Picton is starting to come into his own a little bit. It's great to see him score his first touchdown, and everyone on the team seemed legitimately thrilled after the game.
Oh yeah,
for him scoring that touchdown. They have the other Canadians on the roster to sort of fill the Canadian ratio from that spot. But I think what the Canadians are doing offensively right now is a big part of the success of this team. Based on the offensive line is playing much better than expectations. Their top receiver right now is Canadian, and probably their, to use a political term, their fastest growing receiver is also a Canadian.
Yeah, absolutely. And that ability to start a couple guys that are impact at that Canadian, at the receiver spot that have the right passports is huge.
Because how long have we, how many teams and how often, the Riders have done it? Every team has done it. There's not necessarily anything wrong with it. You have the Canadian that you throw out at said receiver, and he just basically runs a route and never gets thrown to.
True, Olatarski. Did I say that out loud?
I think you did.
Yeah, because that's exactly.
I mean, that's what Rob Bagg was for a couple of years in his career. That's what the Canadian receiver was for the Riders in 2019, basically.
Right, and now
and through much of Stephen McAdoo's career with the Riders, quite frankly.
Exactly, and now it's like, oh shit, look at all the options they have, and the beauty of that is now, okay, if you're a team playing the Riders, and naturally your best corner was probably going to face off with Shaq Evans. Yep. Now you have decisions to make.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I mean, I don't know if the Ottawa Red Blacks have a best corner, but...
Oh, they do. They have Abdul Kane. He's definitely very good.
Oh, right. That's fair. So, but still, I feel like that's one of those that you're going to see... It's almost one of those games that you're going to see Kane, he's going to follow somebody, and then somebody else is going to get hot, then he's going to end up over there, and then somebody else is going to get hot, and then he's going to end up over there, and it's like, that's what you want in the CFL. You want that receiving depth, and especially with them being Canadian, like I said, it's not quite Fantu's Bag, and who's the third member of the Canadian Air Force, Joel? Getzlaff. Thank you. It's not quite the same, but it's approaching that.
It's definitely like a light version of the Canadian Air Force at this point.
It's like the Royal Canadian Air Farce on the CBC.
No, because, I mean, this isn't
No, that would
funny.
indicate that...
This isn't a joke, John.
That's fair. It would indicate that they weren't very good and taxpayer funded, so they are definitely not... I mean, in a roundabout way, they're taxpayer funded, but they're definitely actually very good. And like, Linnaeus putting in the work, losing a bunch of weight to make himself more of a prototypical receiver, that's awesome. Like that's again, the offense looked really good, and so was the defense. Like this is
other than the Montreal Alouettes are the only other team that have scored 30 points in a game this year, and the Riders have done it twice.
Right.
Because as we talked about on this very program, because for some reason we're on a roll with being right about things.
Like, what the hell is going on here?
With maybe it was Dan Plaster's appearance that brought sense to our brains or something, where we said slam the under early, where every game but one so far this year has hit the under.
Yes. Now,
and this game this past week would have gone over had Hamilton been at least half good, but they weren't, so it stayed under.
Yes. Now, the only thing I wonder, things I think BC proved that they're good.
They're all right, yeah.
Or
at least.
They're all right.
Yeah.
Are the Bombers and Riders that good, or is Hamilton potentially that bad this year? Because Hamilton has looked like shit for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question. I'm still not ready to jump to any conclusions about teams this year. Because, I mean, in 2019, the Riders were 0-2 and then 1-3 to start the season and then finished 13-5.
Right.
Hamilton's coming into their bye week now, I believe. So it feels like a time where they might be able to right the ship. And I still firmly believe one of, if not both, of Hamilton and Calgary will right the ship this year. Well, they might not finish first in their division. They might not make the Grey Cup, but they will at least still end the season as very good teams.
Well, and to Calgary though, that comes down to me, I think Bo Levi Mitchell's health.
Yes, that's fair. In Calgary, we're learning that today. That's fair. But like the original tweet and thought I had was, okay, I still believe one, if not both, of these teams will turn it around. I'm a little more. I think that's more likely Hamilton at this point, but I'm not ready to rule out Calgary either.
No, I think Michael O'Connor is a very good quarterback, and it's great to see Canadian quarterbacks actually being relevant in this league finally.
Yes, but it's not the first time that two Canadians might play in the start in the same season.
Right. It's still cool, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But I don't know, like either to me, Saskatchewan and Winnipeg are headed for a showdown for first place in the West.
I think regardless, that Labor Day game and Banjo Bowl are going to be bananas.
Massive. Absolutely massive, right?
Because I mean that's right around the corner. Like we're used to, usually that's a couple months into the season. Instead, it's here in like a couple of weeks.
Right. Where I won't be at the game, I will be very drunk at a wedding back home, or I guess Sunday, so I'll be recovering. And I tried to book WestJet so I could watch live TV on my way home, but
so they have a lot of the like app entertainment now, so it's very hit and miss whether you actually get live TV now or not.
No, that's fair. No, that's true. I mean, I guess maybe I'll just get drunk by myself at the Pearson Airport and hopefully watch. No, it's even worse. I'll be traveling and there's no cell phone service out there. No, there might be enough. I might be able to catch Bob Irving, the old Blue Bombers on CJOB.
But yeah, so I don't know. Like right now it's easy to say that the Riders are good and Hamilton is bad, and I think it's a bit of both as to what happened in that game, and that's why it was as lopsided as it was, because as close as the score was for a while, the Riders are very much in control of a majority of that game.
Yes.
And I think realistically they won that game early in the second half, when after returner Marcus Murphy kind of muffed that punt and gave it back to Hamilton right away. That was one of those moments where Hamilton could have turned their season around, got back in that game and it could have been, okay, buckle up, let's go, this is going to be a hell of a finish. Instead, the Riders came out sack, punt.
Well, and I would also agree with what you highlighted as the dumb in your article on 3downnation.com.
Mm-hmm.
The other time that they could have turned that game around was the fact that they went offside of the one place on the field you should never go offside because there is a giant white line to show you where not to go offside.
Yeah.
That to me was like, okay, maybe they'll turn it. Oh no, they're still going to be not very good, or Saskatchewan is still really good. So it's so interesting this year from that perspective that we just don't know anything.
No, but I mean, from our perspective, not knowing anything really isn't that new.
It's kind of on brand. It really is.
Hey, Jacques Cartier, show's over.